Welcome, yogis. Thank you for joining me today. Today is a very special day because I am coming to you from Roatan, Honduras. I am on vacation and wanted to make a video for you. So this is a very chill, kind of fun and funky yoga class to go with my vacation mood. So, as always, do what you can, take a break whenever you need to, challenge yourself if you would like. We are going to start in hero's pose. You can bring the palms into your lap, palms up if you want to try to connect with the world around you, which in this beautiful place, that was my goal. Or you can place the palms down on your thighs if you really want to bring your gaze and your thoughts internally and connect with yourself. In hero's pose, think about having a long spine so that you can inhale and really fill up the body in all directions. As you exhale, relax and ease into the pose. Inhale, expand into your belly, expand into your chest and your lungs, expand the backs of the ribs, reach through the crown of the head, and as you exhale, release the shoulders away from the ears and just settle and ease into hero's pose. If this is really uncomfortable on your knees, you can always put a block under your hips. On an inhale, bring the hands up, and then exhale, come into table, and we're going to extend one leg behind us, rolling out the ankle, reaching the back of the knee towards the sky. Go ahead and switch sides, stretching out the knees after being seated in hero's pose. Come back to table and push yourself back into child's pose. If you want a little extra, you can keep the toes tucked and stretch out the bottom of the feet. Just like in hero's pose, breathe in child's pose, expand in all directions. Really feel the space between the ribs in your back body expand as you inhale, and when you exhale, if the knees are wide, allow the chest to drop in between the knees. Go ahead and come back up to table, and we're going to take some cat-cow poses. As you exhale, round the back. Inhale, drop the belly and arch. Be sure to articulate through the whole spine, from tailbone through cervical spine. Come back to flat, and we're going to reach one leg straight behind, opposite arm out in front. On an exhale, bring the knee to the elbow. Inhale, extend back to flat. Exhale. Inhale, reach through the heel, reach through the fingertips. Exhale, squeeze the belly button to the spine. Inhale, lengthen. One more time, exhale. Inhale. And then we're going to go ahead and reach behind, and if you can, grab a hold of that foot. It can be a little bit awkward because it's kind of twisted, but try to push the foot into the hand, creating a bit of a back bend. Release, come back to table. Find your balance on the other side, extending the leg out behind you, opposite arm in front, and then exhale underneath the body. Inhale, extend. Exhale, elbow to knee. Inhale, flat body. Exhale, curve the spine, squeeze the abs. Inhale, extend. One more time. And then again, reaching for that foot behind you. Maybe pushing the foot into the hand to create a little bit of a deeper back bend. And then gently release and come back to table. When you're ready, tuck your toes and lift your knees just a couple inches off the ground. Scoop the belly. and then shift your weight back for our first down dog. Focus on having a nice long upper body. So you want to create almost a straight line from your fingertips out through your tailbone. So this means that the knees can be bent a little bit. Maybe you walk the heels in, one heel at a time, as you start to lengthen through the backs of the legs. When you're ready, inhale, one foot comes up. Exhale, squeeze the knee towards the forehead. Inhale, extend. Exhale, squeeze. Inhale, hips stay square as much as you can as you reach the leg up. Exhale. And one more time. Inhale. Exhale. Knee to nose. And then step that foot all the way through. Back heel rolls to the ground. And come up for warrior one. Hip points are towards the front of your mat. Try to keep your hips square. Hands towards the sky. If it feels good, you can take a tiny back bend here, bringing your gaze up. Continue to sink deep into that front leg. When you're ready, release, step to plank, and push back to down dog. Before we move to the other side, take a few breaths. Maybe walk the feet out again. Really refocus on lengthening through the tailbone, having a nice long spine, bending, straightening the knees, and then we'll inhale, the opposite foot comes up. Exhale, knee to nose or forehead. Inhale, reach behind. Exhale, squeeze the abs. Inhale, shoot energy out through that extended leg. Exhale. Inhale, split down dog. Exhale, knee to forehead. And then bring that foot right in between the hands, coming to warrior one on the other side. The heel of the front foot should be right in front of the heel of the back foot. Again, you can take a tiny back bend here if it feels good, but focus on staying deep in the bend of the front leg. Take another breath, and then release the hands to the ground and inhale to plank. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, up dog. If you're not quite ready for up dog, you can stick with cobra. Exhale, down dog. And then jump or step the feet forward. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, release. And then inhale, rise all the way up. Palms come together and then in front of your heart. Inhale. Exhale, follow the palms down to the ground, forward fold. Inhale, half lift, flattening the back. And then release the head and neck and jump or step back. Flow through your vinyasa, coming through chaturanga and then inhaling to a back bend of your choice. Exhaling, down dog. Pick up one foot and we're going to start to roll the hip open, reaching the toe a little higher towards the sky. Making sure that the shoulders don't roll. We're just opening up the hips. Square the hips again, and then bring that foot all the way through. And this time we're going to windmill up to warrior two. Now I want you to think of your body as a perfectly flat plane, so the hips are nice and open, your shoulders are open, and everything is in one single plane. On an exhale, the back hand slides down the back leg for reverse warrior. And then shift forward, coming into a bent-legged triangle or extended side angle. And you can rest the elbow on your knee or you can reach the fingertips towards the ground. And then it's your choice if that top hand reaches up and over the body or if you keep the shoulders stacked. Exhale, shift back to reverse warrior again. And then windmill all the way down. Flowing through chaturanga on the exhale. Inhale, up dog or cobra. Exhale, down dog. Opposite side. Pick the foot up, start with the hips square, and then very consciously start to roll the hips open. So the hips are starting to stack. That floating leg is reaching a little higher towards the sky, but the shoulders stay square to the ground, putting even amount of weight in both hands and both shoulders. Square the hips, and then exhale, step that foot through, and windmill the hands up, warrior two on the other side. Take a few breaths here and focus on your setup. Make sure that knee of the front leg is right on top of the ankle and you're not letting it roll forward. Make sure the body's in that nice plane. On an exhale, reverse your warrior, and then shift forward, coming into either bent-legged triangle or extended side angle. Paying attention to your shoulders and what feels good with that top shoulder, that top arm. Maybe extending it over and pressing the bicep towards the ear. On your next exhale, shift back again, reverse warrior, and then follow the breath through, inhaling to plank, and exhale through your vinyasa. Make your way to down dog and take a few breaths here to readjust. Make sure that you're not putting too much pressure on your wrists, so you're really trying to suction the palms away from the ground. Don't overextend the shoulders, reach through the tailbone. And once you have that set up, then you can really start to lengthen the legs and sink the heels towards the ground. On your next exhale, jump or step the feet forward. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, round. Inhale, reverse swan dive, rise all the way up, and then hands back to your heart. Inhale. Exhale, follow the palms down to the ground. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, release and jump or step back into your vinyasa. So now we're going to open up those hips a little bit more. So inhale, one foot comes up, start with the hips square. Consciously roll the hip open and then take it a little further by bending the knee and letting the weight of that foot hang, opening up your hip flexor a little bit more. Release, come back to square hips, and then on an exhale, step that foot all the way through. Windmill the hands up, warrior two. Take a breath to settle, to flatten out that body in that imaginary plane. Make sure you're not overarching the back. Abs are in strong. And on an exhale, reverse your warrior. This time we're going to extend the leg in reverse warrior. And on an exhale, shift forward into triangle. So you're going to take the arms and reach that front arm as far forward as you can. And once you've gone as far as you can, then you just tilt the arms so that they're perpendicular with the ground. And if you can, try to float the back foot up, coming into half moon. Again, trying to stack the hips and the shoulders so that you're all in one plane. You're not rolling towards the ground, and then soften the knee of the standing leg and gently step back to warrior two. On your next breath, roll down to plank and flow through your vinyasa. Remember, you can always take child's pose if you need to. Otherwise, we're going to move on to the other side, starting with square hips and down dog. And when you lift that leg, slowly start to roll it open. So you're opening up the hip flexor a little bit more, letting the weight of the foot pull your body a little bit more open, keeping the kneecap pointed towards the sky. When we do this in class, I notice a lot of people tend to drop the kneecap when they do that movement. So keep the kneecap towards the sky. Go ahead and transition, bring the foot through to warrior two. And we'll take a few breaths here. Find that nice flat plane, open hips, Open heart, shooting energy out through the fingertips. And then on an exhale, reverse your warrior. And again, we're going to extend the front leg. And really challenging your core strength, you're going to shift the arms forward, coming into triangle. You can rest the hand on a block or on your shin, or you can continue to float the hands next to the shin for more of a challenge with your core. On your next exhale, soften the knee of the front leg and gently step forward, coming towards your half moon pose. Fingertips, again, can be on the ground or a block, or you can try to challenge yourself by floating them barely off the ground. That's very, very difficult, so something to work towards if you're not quite there. Gently step back, warrior two, take one more breath, and then flow down and flow through your vinyasa. As we do more chaturangas, continue to try to keep those elbows squeezing in. They start to splay out as we get more tired, so make that a focus. In down dog, take a few breaths here, and again, find that length in the upper body as you slowly start to sink the heels towards the ground. The focus is always on finding the long spine first, and then starting to loosen up the backs of the legs. When you're ready, jump or step forward, forward fold. Inhaling, flat back. Exhaling, release. And then inhaling, rising all the way up. And hands come back to your heart. We're going to shift gears here a little bit. So inhale, rise up, coming up onto the toes. Lengthening as much as you can away from the ground. And then slowly come down into a very, very deep version of chair where your hips are almost resting, or maybe they are resting on your heels. You're trying to continue to balance on the balls of your feet. Release one hand and stretch over, opening up the side. Try to maintain your balance, hands back to the sky, and then side stretch on the other side. The more you squeeze your ankles and your knees together, the more stable you will be. Come back to center. And then release the hands to the ground and adjust so that you have enough space for your knees. We're going to roll through our spine here a little bit. So inhale, the hands come up. Deepen the inhale as you arch down, and then tap the crown of the head and exhale, roll back up. Inhale, arch to the ground. Exhale, curve your spine up. And then release the hands to the ground and extend the legs behind, again rolling out the ankles if that feels good, but really focusing on lengthening the backs of the knees. They've been hyperflexed a little bit here, so it's good to straighten them back out. Roll yourself back up to balanced on the balls of the feet. The hands can stay on the ground, or you can bring them up over your head for more of a challenge. Inhale all the way up. Try to stay on the toes, and then exhale, heels to the ground, hands to your heart. Inhale. Exhale, fold. And then we're going to just hang out here in forward fold for a few breaths. So if it feels good, you can wrap the hands around the elbows and maybe sway slightly side to side. If your wrists are bothering you, maybe flip the palms up and press the backs of the wrists into the ground. Whatever feels good. On your next inhale, we're going to rise back up. And then we're going to find our balance on one side, picking up one foot and crossing the ankle over the knee, sitting back into a one-legged chair. And you can stay right here if that is good enough for you. Maybe you want to focus on balance and strengthening that standing leg. If you would like the extra challenge, we are going to slowly shift into toe stand. Now, if you can do this without any hands, you are amazing. I have to keep my fingertips on the ground for balance, so that's something I'm working towards. You can always work on just bringing one hand to prayer and maybe just relying on the balance of a couple fingertips on the ground. It's totally up to you. Go ahead and come back to standing, back to forward fold, releasing that bent leg to the ground, maybe walking the knees out, and then inhale, rise back up. And we're going to find it on the other side. So before we lift the other leg, just try to come up onto your toes again, squeeze the ankles together, squeeze the knees together, and then release the heels to the ground and lift the opposite knee up, crossing the ankle over your standing knee, sitting the hips down and back for that one-legged chair. And remember, it's okay to stay here. The other thing you can do is if you really want to go into flying pigeon, you want to take an arm balance, you can do that instead of the toe stand. If you're going to try the toe stand, go ahead and sink the hips down so that your hips are resting on your heel and you're trying to balance on that toe. Release and come back to forward fold, lengthening the legs, maybe walking them out, and then inhale, rise up. Exhale, hands to your heart. Inhale, hands towards the sky. Come up onto the toes. Try to challenge yourself. Just coming onto the toes is really difficult for me. And then we're going to come back into that deep chair pose where you're balancing on the balls of the feet. Hands can be on the ground for balance, for support, or towards the sky. Go ahead and try a little twist. And then we're going to drop that back hand behind us and come up into a one-arm wheel, kind of a cross between wheel and wild thing. The difference here is that your feet are on the same plane, they're even. Come back to that balancing chair. And then open up to the other side. Try to find a twist before you drop the back hand to the ground. Go ahead and drop the back hand and come up into that one arm wheel or wild thing, whatever pose helps you picture how to make the body arch in that direction. And then we're going to release both hands to the ground and push up into reverse table. Extend the legs out, keeping the hips lifted for reverse plank. And then gently soften the hips towards the ground, coming into a seated position or staff pose. Inhale, the hands come up. Exhale, fold forward, reaching the belly button as far forward as you can, and then relaxing the upper body. So we really want to get lots of length before we curl over the toes. Grab a hold of one foot and extend it up using your core, pulling that knee towards your nose if that feels good. Maybe challenging yourself by lifting the opposite leg a few inches off the ground, and then release, come back to your forward fold and shift so that you're holding on to the opposite foot. Engage the core to come up, lifting that leg off the ground, pulling the knee towards the nose, maybe challenging yourself by bringing the bottom foot a few inches off the ground. Engage your core even more, and then gently release. If that's super awkward for you, you don't have to hold the leg to come up. You can always bring the upper body up and then find the extension in the legs. From forward fold, go ahead and release. Hands come behind the hips, fingertips forward, press the hips towards the sky for reverse plank. Lengthening the body, and then release the hips back down to the ground. Cross the legs and roll over your crossed ankles, coming back to table for a moment. We're going to come into our final back bend, coming into camel. So if you need some extra cushion under your knees, you can roll up your mat. Go ahead and lift the hips up so that your hips are stacked on top of your knees. And you want to keep your hips stacked on top of your knees the entire time. Don't let your hips shift behind you. So go ahead and reach with one hand towards the heels. Opposite hand comes to the ground. Then we're going to kind of roll through. So come back to center. Opposite side, opposite hand to the heel. Free hand to the heel. Rolling yourself back up to center. And again, one hand, other hand, and find full camel. Toes can be tucked under, or you can be on the tops of your feet. Roll yourself back up to center, taking just a little bit more time in camel. So one hand to the heel, other hand to the heel. Take a breath or two, push the hips forward. Imagine you're pushing them into an imaginary wall, and then release one hand, other hand. Go ahead and release the cushion in your mat if you had it folded up, and we're going to transition to rabbit. So bring the forehead right to the kneecaps, crown of the head towards the ground, hands wrapped around the heels, and then you can gently lift the hips towards the sky. Your body weight is in your arms, which is wrapped around your heels. Very little weight is actually on your head. You should feel an amazing stretch in the upper back. Release, taking an inhale to the sky and then folding forward to child's pose. You can walk the hands side to side for one final stretch through the side body. Going back to that rabbit pose, go ahead and switch sides, stretching the other side. Make sure that you don't put a lot of pressure on your head, because that will then put pressure on your neck, which is not good. Also, make sure that you're tucking the head so that the crown of the head is on the ground, not your forehead, so that when you come up, you don't have any kinks in your neck. Come back to child's pose. And then we're going to transition to Shavasana. So you can do Shavasana like normal. I have this handy dandy hammock here, so I'm going to take full advantage of my vacation and have Shavasana in the hammock. It was just absolutely lovely in Roatan. Perfect weather, lots of sun. The water was the perfect temperature if you like to snorkel, lots of sea life. So I can't recommend it enough. In Shavasana, I want you to just relax and really become in tune with the world around you. Now, for me, this was wonderful because I could feel the swaying of the hammock. I could feel the breeze. It was very easy to be connected to the world around me. For you, it might be a little bit different, especially if you're taking this class in your home. There might be distractions going on. Maybe your mat is in a place that's not super comfortable. You had to squeeze your mat into a small area. That's fine. It's okay to have distractions. It's okay to not have the perfect yoga space. Notice those things. If you have kids in the background talking or playing, just notice that sound. There's nothing that you need to do. Just notice it and let it go. Notice your surroundings. If you have your mat in a little bit of a small area, maybe you feel like you're smashed in between furniture, that's fine. Notice how it feels. If you're not able to take up as much space, maybe shift where your body is. You can bring the hands above your head. They don't have to be by your sides. I have definitely done a lot of yoga practices in some small apartments where the space was not ideal. And so that's okay. You make the most of what you have available. Go ahead and relax and close the eyes if you were still kind of taking in your surroundings. Now that you're nice and comfortable, really ease into a feeling of peace, a feeling of rest, relaxation, and recovery. I have to admit, putting together this class and rewatching, I really enjoyed it. I had some fun, did some kind of funky things, and played around with my practice because I'm on vacation and it felt good to play. So I hope you enjoyed this as well. I want you to stay in Shavasana as long as feels good for you. We've got a couple minutes left, so just breathe and feel the peace of Shavasana. Hopefully this practice was a little fun for you as well and maybe brought some joy. So maybe feel and focus in on that joy or happiness or laughter, however it presented itself in your practice. Continue to breathe and feel free to stay here as long as you'd like. If you are ready to start to reawaken from your Shavasana, go ahead and do so, finding a seated position to close out the practice, however you prefer. I just want to say thank you all for joining me, and I hope you enjoyed your practice. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Namaste.